to Reformed Naija Television to yet another explosive conversation on the subject of the Israeli-Iranian war. Modern warfare is particularly difficult today because as you wage war against the enemy, you must also wage war against the press. The press is often at the center of conflict in modern times. In fact, it was said that the First World War was precipitated by the press. So when America decided to enter the war with Iran, they needed to provide a decoy to the press. The way they did this was that President Trump told the press that he will decide on what to do with Iran in 2 weeks. All the while he was saying this, Trump had given directives to the American Air Force to bombard nuclear sites in Iran. American stealth bombers were on their way to Iran even as of Saturday night when Dr. Adetola, Idris Ahmad, and myself were debating the subject on RNTV. The planes flew 12 hours and arrived inside Iranian airspace undetected. Prior to their arrival, Israeli planes had bombed all possible air attacks that could be launched against the American bombers by the Iranians. The plane flew to 3 nuclear sites in Iran, providing decoy to Iranian detecting facilities, and bombed all 3 sites. The B-2 stealth bomber were carrying bombs weighing 30,000 pounds each. Each of these planes carried at least 2 of those bombs at the same time. 7 of the bombs were dropped on Iranian sites, making 422,000 weight of a bomb on the Iranian sites, destroying completely everything, every possibility of Iran owning nuclear weapons, at least in the foreseeable future. America has made it clear that their gross is with the nuclear facility Iran is developing. And it is those they set their eyes on destroying. They have, however, warned Iran that if that country escalates the conflict, they will be moving into Iran to effect a regime change. What that means in practical terms is this: America knows where the Ayatollah is hiding, and they plan to strike him dead if the need arises. After that, they would ensure that the government is put in place that does not support terrorist organizations like the former regime did. The position of Reformed Naija Television is that Iran exports terrorism to all the world. And if the progressive world considers Iran a threat to world peace, by all means, everything must be done to remove those who are threatening our peace. Already, since 2009, Nigeria has been waging war against Islamic fundamentalism. Millions of our people have been killed. The economy of the Northeast is in shambles. Lia Sharibu, a Christian girl, is still in the den of Boko Haram as we speak. And Nigerians are generally unknowledgeable of the threat of militant Islam. We hope to educate our viewers of this challenge and to show them that America and Israel's efforts to rid the world of the influence of the regime of Ayatollah will ultimately result in peace in Nigeria in the days to come. As peaceful, also, we hope that peaceful Muslims must become more vocal. Sorry, let me take that again. Yeah. Also, peaceful Muslims must become more vocal in their condemnation of militant Islam. One finds that their silence may be veiled support, may be a veiled support for many of what the extremists are doing. I am joined today in our broadcast tonight by Samuel Ojediran from Abuja. My name is Deji Yesufu. This is Reformed Naija Television. And thank you very much for joining us. For those of you who are already online, thank you very much for being here. In a moment, I'm going to bring Samuel back. He's online already. He's going to be joining us to discuss the subject. The slides that we have on the screen is what we'll be discussing mainly. Samuel is already very familiar with that, with those slides. Mr. Samuel Ojedinran, want to thank you very much for joining us. Please, can you say hello to our viewers?
Hello, good evening, everyone listening out there. We're glad you can join us tonight. Welcome all to this show.
Yes. So Samuel is reaching us from Abuja. I actually invited him to our broadcast today because in our Saturday broadcast, he was engaged throughout. He both in the comments and everywhere he was engaged, and subsequently he engaged the comments. So you can actually earn yourself a visit to Reform Naija Television if you are part of us. If we know you have something to add to us, we'll ask you to come. Okay, so thank you, Samuel. Can you just tell us in briefly what you do? The church you do go to, your interest, just very, very briefly.
Thank you, Mr. Deji Sufu. Once again, my name is Ojedinran Samuel Adesoji, and I am based in Abuja. And as for what I do a number of things. I am a teacher. I teach French language. I am an interpreter. I'm a translator. I work with organizations, work during conferences. And because of my training, I read European studies, so it makes me to have interest in happenings around me, international issues, just like the type we're discussing tonight. Okay. As for the church I attended the Deeper Life Bible Church, where I am also very much grounded in the Word of God. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're
Our
welcome.
broadcast is brought to us by Lakim Investment. Lakim Investment own a short-let facility at Ibeshe Housing Estate in Ikorodu, Lagos. So if you find yourself in Ikorodu and you need a place to stay, please patronize them. They have a 3-bedroom flat in that place. They do a short-let facility 1 day, 2 days, a week, a month. If you want to go 1 year, we'll be happy. Please get in touch with them. The number there is 0808 378 0591. Please take down the number as the advert is going to be playing right away.
Okay.
And the advert will begin to play. It usually delays. I have a challenge with my laptop, but it will begin to play now. It's possible it has started playing. Some strange reason Lakim is not playing today. I don't know. And it's possible that our guests are hearing. It's very, very possible. All right. I think we're just going to proceed. For some reason, Lakim is just not coming on. So we're going to proceed with the program. We're going to move to the first slide, I believe there's a discussion on the yes. So we essentially want to update our viewers with regards to happenings in Israel, Iran, and the United States of America. So just about the time we were having the discussion last Saturday on this very topic about the crisis in between Iran and Israel, and we as Christians, we felt that Israel has the reason to go into this conflict with Iran. Our friend who also joined us in the discussion that is Idris Ahmad, took the opposing position, and I actually wanted him to be there because I knew that we're going to be very critical of Islam, and I wanted a Muslim at least to be there to give a defense. And I think he did a very good job. But as that was being done, America was flying into Iran, and I think sometimes in the midnight Iran time, they bombarded 3 nuclear sites, including their main site somewhere they call Fordo. So that is the main gist. And immediately it was done even before the American bombers returned to the United States. President Trump came out and informed everybody that the deed has been done, provided a decoy to the press, making people think that America was going to give Iran 2 weeks, but they bombed them right away, and that's this thing. Well, I'm going to still take your position, Mr. Samuel, on this thing, on this whole subject. But my position is simply this: Iran cannot own nuclear weapons. Why? Because without even nuclear weapons, Iran is already exporting terrorism. Okay, so right now, if they own nuclear weapons, God alone knows what else they're going to do. That's my position. Secondly, I think that it is not every country in this world that can own nuclear weapons, okay? Because the argument people make is that they say Israel owns nuclear weapons, the United States has nuclear weapons, China has rockets, okay? So if these countries have, why can't others have? Well, your country cannot have a nuclear weapon until, number one, your country is a stable country. Stable. All right. Secondly, it must be democratic. Okay. There must be at least some semblance of democracy. Yeah. And then number three, you must have sensible leaders. All right. Not a trigger happy leader. All right. So those are the things. And so many other points. But let me hear what Mr. Samuel has to say. The people who say that Israel owns nuclear weapons, why shouldn't Iran own? How do you respond to persons like that?
Mr. DJ, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Just that your voice is breaking.
Oh,
is my voice breaking?
Your voice is not breaking. No. Is it better now?
I guess it's better now.
Okay, all right. So what do you think about this whole issue of people who say that Iran can own nuclear weapons because other countries own nuclear weapons? How do you respond to persons like that?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Just like you said in the introductory part of this aspect of our discussion, their reason is not justifiable in any way. That's not how you can justify them saying because the United States of America has nuclear weapon, France has, Russia has, North Korea has, Britain has. Therefore, a country like Iran should have. It is unjustifiable. And some of those reasons you also have mentioned them. You cannot entrust such kind of weapon of mass destruction in the hand of unstable people. in the hand of people who sponsor terrorism, people who have processes all over the place, who around the world, who attack other people, especially always targeting Israel. For what purpose exactly? For what reason? So it's dangerous to allow people like Iran to have a country like Iran to have access to this type of weapon. For instance, if you look at North Korea now, they have access to nuclear weapon. And you see how the young man who is the leader of that country threatening the whole world all the time. If there is any slight argument, slight argument between North Korea and another country, the next thing Kim Jong-un threatening is to use the nuclear weapon. That is very wrong. You hardly hear people, countries like the United States, to say they want to use the nuclear weapon at any time. No, they don't do such. So this is the reason why Iran should not be entrusted with nuclear weapon.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why we invited you to this discussion was because, are you hearing me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. So one of the reasons why I invited you to this discussion was because you provided some historical context to the crisis between Israel and their neighboring, many of their neighbors. Do you want to share some of those things with us before we?
Yes, definitely, definitely. While I also implore you to work around the quality of your voice. I don't know whether it's the network or what. So, but by the time you speak again, I hope it will get better. All right. As regard to the historic perspective I provided on my social platform, on my social media platform, Facebook, yes, I've been very, very keenly interested in the development in Israel and in the Middle East, particularly. All right. So I've been following on, especially since October 7, the October 7 mass attack on Israel, whereby many Israelis were killed, were murdered in cold blood by Hamas. So even before then, I've been following on the development between Israel and other countries, especially Palestine. So I wanted to know what exactly is the genesis of this crisis. Why do Israel and the Palestinians always have to confront each other, and they have Iran by the side, who is always ready to support them, who is always ready to, to come into the matter to ensure that they fight on behalf of the Palestinians, okay, by arming us. So I started doing my finding, all right? And most of the time, when you talk about these things, many people don't want to listen. They don't want to listen. The fact that the land that you see there actually belongs to, the children of Israel, whom we call today Israelis, who are currently called Israelis, since the event of 1948, when they were established, they were declared as the modern state of Israel. Okay? And what happened was that the UN offered both Palestinians and the Israelis the two states, and the Israeli accepted to become a modern state. All right, but the Palestinians rejected this offer. They rejected the offer to become a state. They didn't want to have the Israelis around at all. They never wanted to have the Israelis around at all. So, and ever since then, remember when Israel was declared as a modern state? Immediately they were declared a modern state, they got attacked. They got attacked by a gathering of a group of Arab countries, and the Israelis defeated them. Israel defeated them. Okay, ever since then there hasn't been peace. They are always on their neck to ensure to push them, and over time, when your aggressors come after you all the time, you get at the time you have to fight back, and that's what is happening. Israelis are fighting back against the Palestinians and their forces. Okay, you have been offered a two-state solution. You Palestinians rejected this offer. You said you cannot, cohabit with Israelis in a two-state solution, or that is according to the declaration of the UN. And ever since then, they've been fighting against Israeli, and Israeli also fought back. This time around, they are even trying to push them out of the territory. So what do you expect? Do you get to blame Israelis for this? And when I found out that prior to the 1978 Islamic Revolution in Iran, the administration that was then in place, the Shah administration, were an ally of the Israelis, alongside with the United States, Israel, the state of Israel, and the Iran prior 1978 were friends. They were friends. So what happened when the Islamic Revolution toppled the then administration? They became enemy with Israel. That's what happened, and they named um, America the big Satan, Israel the small Satan. That's what happened. And eventually, the fight has continued since 1979 up to this very moment. So Israel has the right to defend itself. As a matter of fact, whether we like it or not, going by the historic perspective or biblical perspective, God has offered them all the land before them. That's what the scripture says. God promised Abraham, their forefathers, that everything that you can see, as much as wherever your eye can reach, is for you. You have been given it has been given to you. But today, Israel struggled to even have a small piece of land to call their own country, and they were exterminated. They were killed during the Holocaust in during the Second World War. They were almost exterminated. But sensible countries felt we need to bring them together as a country, and a resolution was passed at the UN, which they were able to trace their ancestral land to where they are today. If you dig deep, you found out traces, archaeological findings will show you that that land used to be the northern and the southern kingdom, the southern kingdom of Israel and the northern kingdom of Israel. All right, that is Israel that was divided into two when that was fighting against against the king of that time, and then the king was divided into two when Rehoboam the fought
Yes.
that betrayed, okay, and the kingdom was divided into two, and eventually because
Can you
of
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you clearly
Can
now.
you? Okay.
Yeah,
So yes. So I'm trying to so yes, we have the context now. Just so as to save our time, I want us to go to the next slide. But I'm trying
all
to
right,
get that next slide. That next slide was a discussion that we had. I told you I sent the slides ahead of you, and I told you that it will be good that we respond to some of the things that Idris raised in his discussion. Um,
yeah,
Idris felt that I went overboard when I made the allegation in quote
yeah,
that many Muslims, many peaceful Muslims today are sympathetic to militant Islam, and he said
that's
that
right.
I shouldn't have made that. He said that's a grave allegation. He went on to say something like many Muslims, in fact, more Muslims have been killed, in this crisis than Christians. He said that there is nothing, there are some contexts in the Quran in which some of these so-called violent verses in the Quran is made, and that many of the people who use those verses, they run with them without providing the context to them, But as he was saying all of that, I myself could still tell that in spite of the history that is behind the creation of Israel, in spite of
Yeah,
the fact that Israel has been like a light in the Middle East, many of the countries that associate with Israel have benefited. In fact, there are
yeah,
many Palestinians that didn't join, that didn't go to Gaza and all of those people. They stayed back in Israel and they are benefiting from it. The
yes,
last time a hospital was attacked during the bomb blast, they
yes,
said that there were Palestinians in those hospitals that were being treated by Israeli doctors. You know,
Yeah.
the Palestinians, Israel will provide them water, they give them electricity. You know, prior to October 7th, Israel was supporting the Palestinians. You know,
Yeah.
so you begin to wonder that why will any sensible person walk or speak against Israel or America except that person is sympathetic to militant Islam, you know? And my
Sure.
allegations to him was that it appears to me that these militant Muslims are actually doing the job for you peaceful, in quote, Muslims, so that eventually the day they take over power, you people will just join them in the whole thing. And he said it was an allegation. What do you think about what he had to say?
I listened to him, and I was amused by his perspective. All right, because if he tells us, like he told us that day, that these people wrong with these uh, injunctions they read from their book, without even finding out. Okay, let us realize that it was all that every aspect of their teachings from their book has a history. Okay, if you see it has a history, how come those verses are still used today? Are still used today and are still used to commit heinous crime with today? How do you I mean explain that? So he was just looking for a way of escape. He was just looking for a damage control, which is too late. It's too late. So we know there are clerics in the all over the place. Some of their mosques who actually incite people, violence against people. Even one of the ministers then under the then president, okay, if videos were circulated concerning him, where he was inciting violence against non-Muslims. All right. So that thing he's saying is totally out of place. It's not right. If he said they are historic, why is it that they were not left to history, but today they are still being used? We see mob attack. We see jungle justice in the name of religion all over Nigeria happening. It's not right. And all over social media now, you see them, they are being sympathetic to what Iran has been, has been doing. Since 1979, when Iran declared as a republic, as an Islamic republic, they've named the US the big Satan and Israel the small Satan, and they have vowed to exterminate them. And as such, they even have their followers here in Nigeria, whom they call what they call it, the Islamic movement of Nigeria. They are an affiliate of Iran in Nigeria, and that portends danger for Nigeria. And I laugh when I hear the Nigerian government warning Israel about what is happening all over there. They don't know that Israel is even fighting for them. Israel is fighting for the civilized
Exactly.
world. Israel is fighting for democracy. That is it. Israel wouldn't attack you if you don't attack. You threaten them. What they are facing is an existential threat. They are facing
Yeah.
a potential threat of annihilation. They are going to be annihilated, and they will not open their eyes and allow that to happen. And that's why they are fighting for their lives. So the perspective that Idris gave us that day is totally out of place. He's not being sincere with current issues. If you look at what is happening currently, what the happenings in Nigeria, the mob attack all over the place in Kano, Sokoto. Is it telling me is more Islamic than those people who are involved in attacking, innocent people who take laws into their hands? No, that's not right. I do not agree with him. I do not agree with him. I felt I should have been on the show that day to actually take on him to let him realize that he wasn't being sincere at all. He was not being sincere.
Yes. Yes. I'm trying as much as possible to open the slides to a particular excuse me, to a particular plate, but I'm having lots of trouble with my laptop here. But we'll try as much as possible to see where how to get this thing done.
Wow.
There are in the in the okay. So one of the things I wanted us to discuss last Saturday, which we couldn't get to, okay, is a point I wanted to raise with Idris, but I couldn't raise it with him because we had not agreed on so many things. So I just had to round up, and then time was going. You know,
Yeah.
besides the fact that Islam is inherently, or innately militant. Okay. Besides that fact, there's also the fact that Islam is fundamentally anti-Semitic. It is fundamentally anti-Semitic. I do not know whether you agree with me that Islam, in the writings of the Quran and in the Hadiths, there is a strong opposition to Jews within it. I don't know whether you agree or disagree with me.
I will partly agree with you. Why would I agree with you? Based on some of the happenings and some of the practices we see today, okay, I will say that is true. But if you also look at some other Islamic countries who are at peace with the state of Israel, we found out that our assertion might not be totally correct. Over time, I'm not sure I'm not sure Saudi Arabia has ever had confrontation with Israel before. Okay, and over time, they even have to normalize their relationship. They live peacefully. A country like Saudi Arabia. Okay, and also if you look at the map of Israel and the map of Iran, between Israel and Iran, there are some Arab countries in between them. Okay,
Yeah.
those countries live peacefully with Israel. They do not attack Israel at any time. All right. So I think there are just some. To be fair, there are some countries, some Islamic countries that are fundamental, also sponsor fundamentalism. Okay, the
Okay.
likes of Iran is actually guilty of this. Okay, now Afghanistan is another country that is very difficult to live in. They just removed the country. I mean, the government that was in place during the Joe Biden era. I'm sure if
Yes.
Donald Trump was president at that time, that's not how the Taliban would have taken over Afghanistan. Okay,
Mm.
so as for fundamentalism, I think it's just has to do with one country. It varies from one country to another. If you look at Saudi Arabia now, Saudi Arabia is an Islamic country, and now they have even started opening up, although they are still a theocratic country. All right, but
Yes.
right now they have started inculcating some element of democracy. They host a lot of sporting events, and they even I think they are going to be hosting a very big sporting event in the coming years, where they are trying to say people can have their social life in some areas. Okay, and they are
Yes.
de-escalating. They are opening up. Unlike Iran, who is still on ground sponsoring terrorism around the world.
Yes.
It
I
sponsors
I
Hamas,
think
it sponsors Hutus, it sponsors which other group
Hezbollah.
again? Hezbollah,
Hezbollah.
which has been totally decimated by Israel. So, to be fair,
Yes.
look,
I think what is really the distinguishing mark between Iran type of Islam and that in Saudi Arabia is the Shiite Sunni divide.
hmm,
The Shiites tend to be more fanatical, and that's why
yeah,
if you know Sheikh Zakazaki, the guy that is from
yes,
Zaria, Gilesi
yeah,
Zaria, that was attacked, you could see how his followers, how they behave. You know, they are
yeah,
very, very fanatical. You know, the Sunnis probably have associated more with modern nations, and they
yeah.
have tempered a lot of those their distance. But I still hold the position that Islam is fundamentally anti-Semitic, and I'm good. I have quite a number of points here, and I'm going to read them. The very first one
Okay.
is that the hadiths teach that a woman actually killed Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad. That's
Okay.
what the hadiths teach. It was said that Muhammad had carried out a raid upon a Jewish community, and the followers of Muhammad had killed the woman's father, her husband, her brothers, all of her family, and
Hmm.
captured the woman and brought the woman to his house. I'm not sure whether it was going to be one of his wives or something, but she was in his house. And at some
Hmm.
point, she was told to go and prepare a meal for the prophet, and the prophet, I mean, she went. That's what the hadith says. I don't know which hadith particularly now, but that's one of the
Yeah.
hadith says, and it's one of those confirmed hadiths, one of the authoritative ones, and the woman
Yeah.
prepared the sheep, but she laced it with poison, and she brought it to the prophet. And one of the followers of the prophet, the prophet ate part of it, and one of the followers of the prophet ate it, and immediately that particular person died immediately,
Hmm.
but from that moment, the prophet became ill, and they asked her, "What did you do to the lamb?" She said that she poisoned it, and she was
Hmm.
executed immediately. But the prophet went on to suffer the great deed for 2 years before he passed away. So
Hmm.
there's that record of the hadiths. Besides that, um, two religious groups opposed Muhammad throughout his ministry in those
Okay.
days in Mecca. And those two groups were Christians and Jews. Christians and
Hmm.
Jews. Please do not forget that the Jews themselves opposed the ministry of Jesus. They
Absolutely.
opposed the ministry
Absolutely.
of Jesus. They opposed the ministry of the apostles. The Jews crucified our Lord.
Yes.
So the Jews have a commitment to their orthodox scriptures, which is the Old Testament, Genesis to Malachi.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you are going to come to say something other than that, they are going to hold you to task. So one of the things
You're
that they
right.
used to ask Muhammad was that they used to ask him, where were his miracles? Why? Because when Moses came with miracles. When Jesus came with miracles. But if you call yourself a prophet, where are your miracles? And he usually would dance around that. Till date, it is recorded. I mean, it's very, very clear. There are no recorded miracles from the ministry of Muhammad. So I think that the opposition that he had, that he had from the Jews made
Yeah.
him and his followers to be quite, how do I call
Hostile.
it, opposing to the
Okay.
Jews. Okay.
Okay.
Besides that, let me just read these scriptures very quickly. Quran chapter 5, verse 51 reads, and I quote, "O ye who believe, take not the Jews and the Christians for your friends and protectors. They are but friends and protectors to each other. And he amongst you that turns to them for friendship is of them. Verily, Allah guardeth not a people unjust." So basically, that Quran 551 is saying that Christians should not be friends with Jews and, I mean, sorry, Muslims should not be friends with Jews and Christians. Quran
Christians.
chapter 4, verse 47, no, Quran chapter 2, verse 65 reads, "And well, you know that amongst you, that's the children of Israel, who transgressed in the matter of the Sabbath, we said to them, be ye apes, despised and rejected." So those are some other scriptures that speak against the Jews. There are some
Hmm.
others, Quran 4, 47, Quran 2, 61. So there are many
Hmm.
others like that. But what are your thoughts concerning this idea I've just shared with our listeners?
Yes. Now, these are scriptures. These are quotes. These are verses you took from the book, their book. All right. I'm sure if Idris is here today, is he going to probably want to give us an historic background to these scriptures? But
Yes.
we all know that the truth is all these verses you put up here applies today. Applies today. Although generally there are this vary also from places to place. If you look at the kind of Islam that has been practiced by people, some people in Nigeria, all right? For instance, people from the southwest. southwest part of Nigeria, you find that they are not at the extreme end. No matter what, you see people in the same family, in the same compound, you see Christians, you see Muslim. As a matter of fact, some of them could be from the same parent. All right? And they won't say that. I mean, they don't most of it all the time. They don't apply these scriptures. They don't. I mean, apply these verses against their fellow Yoruba woman or man. All right. So I think also some cultural influences also come to play if you look at it very well. And of course, this should be or could be the reason why we have fundamentalism in this religion today.
That's fine. All right. There is some other hadiths. I got all the scriptures from Korede Olawoyin. Shout out to Korede Olawoyin. He's my teacher concerning Islam and apologetics to Muslims. You know,
Okay.
there's Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari 18427 reads, narrated Aisha and Abdullah bin Abbas. When the last moment of the life of Allah's apostles came, he started putting his camisa on his face. And when he felt hot and short to breath, he took it off his face and said, may Allah curse the Jews and Christians, for they built the places of worship at the graves of their prophets. The prophet was warning Muslims of what those had done. Okay, so you could tell that towards the end of his life, he was saying it, that may Allah curse Jews and Christians. This is the prophet himself. Sahih
Hmm.
Buhari, number one, 12749, narrated Abu. When they say narrated Abu Hurai, narrated by somebody, they're saying that this is the source where we got this story from. Okay, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah Apostle said, say amen. When the Imam say, I don't know how to, Ga, Magu,
Wait, wait.
okay, not the
Yeah,
path of those who, can you read it?
yeah, I can try. Ga il Magadubi Alahim Wala Dalina.
Okay, that should be Arabic. Not the path of those
Yeah.
who earn your anger, such as Jews, nor of those who go astray, just as Christians. All the past sins of the persons whose saying of Amen coincide with that of the angels will be forgiven. So basically, he's telling you that there are two sets of people here that you must not associate with. Okay, it is the Jews. The Jews go astray, or people, yeah, the Jews go astray, and so on. Okay, so you can tell very clearly that even the Hadith are quite um, anti-Jews and anti-Christian. There's a third slide here. I don't know if I can open that, but before I open it, I don't know whether you have a thought on that second slide.
Yeah, just like I told you, the truth is most of the fundamentalism you see today cannot be taken away from what people have been taught, what people have read in these books. That's truth. While some of them use their sense, they use their humanity and judge better. Some don't. Some don't. They don't not hear. They only hear go. They don't hear come. So that's why at any slight opportunity, they just unleash their the beast in them. Okay, in the name of carrying out the dictate of certain books or certain writings
That's
or certain sayings. So and that is quite
okay.
unfortunate.
Yes, Sahih Muslim 26. Abu al-Huraira reported Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, do not greet the Jews and the Christians before they greet you. And when you meet any one of them on the road, force him to go to the narrowest path of that road. Um, Sahih Muslim 41, Abu Huraira reported Allah's messengers as saying, the last hour would not come unless, listen to this one, the last hour would not come unless the
Yes.
Muslims will fight against the Jews, and the Muslims would kill them until the Jews will hide themselves behind a stone or a tree, and a stone or a tree would say, Muslim or the servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. But the tree would not say, for it is the tree of the Jews. So basically, it's just saying that, there's an end. There's at the end time, even trees will be betraying the Jews and calling Muslims to come and kill them. Sahih Muslim 37, Abu Musa reported that Allah's messenger said, when it will be the day of resurrection, Allah will deliver to every Muslim, a Jew or a Christian, and say, that is your rescue from hellfire. So essentially, Jews and Christians are like the dregs, okay, when it comes to the Quranic teaching, and
Yeah.
you just said something about Muslims in the Southwest, that they are not
Yeah.
as fanatical and aggressive. I think the
Yeah.
reason is simply because they are exposed to Western education. Okay.
Yes.
If you are exposed to Western education and the Western way of life, you will tend not to be as aggressive as others are. And I
You're right.
think that the fundamentalists in the North know this, and that is why they have come to that conclusion that Western education and all of the civilization around the West is
It's evil.
haram, and that's
Yeah.
where the whole idea of Boko Haram comes from. Okay,
You're right.
that
You're
anybody
right.
that is exposed to Western education is going to be corrupted. That is where that idea came from. Or what do you think?
That's it. That's it. That's the point. That's the point. That's why you see, even people who are said to be in government in the democratic dispensation can decide to close down schools during a certain period. Okay, close down all the schools and disallow other children who don't practice their faith. They can disallow them from being in school. They can prevent them from being in school. Is part of fundamentalism. If not, why would you close down schools and prevent children from being in school at that point? And even some governors in this country can say uh, Arabic studies, the Quranic studies is better than the Western education. One of them from a current governor, the governor from which state is that? He said it. He was the former governor of, former FCT minister. All right, he said it. That Islamic study is better than Western education. And so, what is different between that kind of person and the proponent of Boko Haram? There's no difference.
Yeah,
There's no
exactly.
difference. So that's actually how this fundamentalism came about,
Yeah.
and we are not
So,
surprised. So, as Nigerians, we have serious problem in our hand, and it's part of the reason why Nigeria is where it is today. It's part of what dragged Nigeria back today.
yes, yes. Thank you very much. Somebody left a comment there. I'm trying to provide a comment. I have some serious problems with my this thing. So, Poluke Martin said, yes, now woman, why? Foluka Martins was supposed to have been part of our discussion today, but she couldn't make it. All right. So to conclude our discussion, I want to make some position, and that is that there are two things we have argued from last Saturday, and we have also accentuated it today. And that is number one: there is such a thing as militant Islam. Okay, there's such a thing as militant Islam, and that if we follow the teachings of the Quran and the teachings of the Hadith to their logical conclusion, then
Yes,
The true Muslim is the militant Muslim. That is what I have been arguing for,
that's right.
and some of in fact, I've had some Muslims from Southwest say that their brothers in the North, Muslims in the North, consider them as kefiris.
That's
They
true.
they don't consider as serious Muslims. That is
That's
why, what's his name? Bola Tinubu had to actually go for a Muslim in the North, because left to them, they do not regard Tinubu as a serious Muslim. You just think that it's just one of those. A serious Muslim will marry a Christian, for example. So he had to go for another Muslim if he was going to really get the knock. There's
that's
no
true.
way he being a Muslim will now say, okay, he wants to get a Christian from the southeast or even a Christian from the north, he will lose that election. If he was going to get the north, he has to go for a Muslim. And he understood that well enough. But that's where that idea comes from. So militant
Yeah.
Islam is, in a sense, the true Islam. And I want to prove it by showing that even in our recent history, okay,
Yes.
the life and times of Uthman Dan Fodio, okay,
Yes.
is a testament to that. Okay,
You're
Uthman
right.
Dan Fodio lived from the middle of the 18th century to the early 19th century, and his
All right.
movement was spread with the sword. That was it.
Yeah.
He conquered the whole. He was a Fulani who came from outside of Nigeria. In that time, there was no Nigeria boundary, but he just moved into the north and he operated from Sokoto and conquered the whole of the north. The only people he didn't conquer were the Kanuris of Borno State, and they didn't conquer. They conquered the Ilorin, but they couldn't move into Ibadan and other parts of
Southwest.
southwest Nigeria.
Yes.
The southwest, they came together and they warded them up. Even Ilorin, they were not supposed to have lost Ilorin, except I think for that situation with Afonja and all of that.
Yeah.
So the
Exactly.
story of Uthman Dan Fodio itself is a testament to the fact that the true Muslim must or should be militant. Okay, the minute you begin to do peaceful and the minute you begin to behave the way you are behaving with all, you're not yet serious Muslim. That is my argument. But of course, somebody like Idris Ahmad would reject that, and many others would also reject it. I don't know whether what if you want to say a few things, and then we'll look at Metesini, Muhammad Yusuf, and Boko Haram before we try to conclude
That
our
is
discussion today.
that is true. That is true. It's just like how Islam was expanded, okay, in the northern part of Africa. The era before Usman Dan Fodio. Okay, it was by the sword. This thing can be fact checked. Islam was spread by the sword. That's true, and I know that it is based on what these people have read in their books, and that's why today you see how uh, the descendant of Usman Dan Fodio go about massacring, committing carnage all over the place, day in, day out. Unfortunately, they even do this in against other tribal people. I mean, other northerners who are not descendant of Usman Dan Fodio. Okay, they carry out this violence against these people. All right, as in, what I'm trying to say that they carry out this violence against their fellow called Muslim. So it's actually a complex situation. It has become a complex situation right now. Those descendants of Usman Dan Fodio don't do no longer believe totally in what they have even learned in those verses over time. Okay, so they have become despicable. They have become so violent. They have become vile. Okay, and that they will go at any length to just murder everybody. So the learned thing from is Usman Dan Fodio. That's how they expanded. That's how they expatiated and expanded all over the place. And Afojao fell to it. Ilorin is no longer part of Yoruba land, and up to today
Yeah,
is a problem to the entire of Nigeria. You see cow move all over the place. And when you're talking about Tinubu,
Fulani herdsmen.
yes, you're talking about Tinubu. You're talking about him having to go for another Muslim to become the president. Right now, as we speak now, do you know that his vice president is not a corner. They don't see him as a corner, and it's
Wow.
generating a problem right now. So what they're trying to do now, they're trying to bring in another northerner who is probably New Rubadi. New Rubadi is
My
a full
God.
animal. They are trying to bring in
Oh,
new Rubadu to replace Shetima by 2027.
really?
So that by the time Tinubu finishes his 8 years, a Fulani man can become president. That's the plan. That's the plan.
All right.
There's this hegemony around it also. This hegemony, this usurping, tendency that Usman Danfodio has entrenched over the centuries, and it had to stop. It has to stop.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
want to
There,
have
there,
a
there's
civilized, we want to have a civilized
yeah.
society called Nigeria.
Yes. So one of the things, I mean, if one is going to be fair to Islam, one should also say that Christians also had a history of militancy. Okay, we had our own. The
That's
Crusades
true.
were militant Christians, and
Yes.
even during the Protestant Reformation, there were lots of fights between Protestants and Catholics, and those fights
Yes.
were not petting their head; they were killing themselves. The
You're
30-Year
right.
War is the last religious war in Europe. It raged from 1618 to 1648. After that time, Europe began to learn to be tolerant of each other's religion. Now, what
That's
I think Islam has not learned, which by God's grace Christians are learning, is that there is a force, there's a power in tolerance, there's a power in education, there's a power in commending your religion through example. That is a lot more than just, suppressing people and demanding that people must follow your religion. Okay, I'm going to finish this
yes.
discussion today by looking at militant Christianity, the type that I have actually seen in my own denomination. Okay, but one of the
Yeah.
things that militant religion does is that it is not open to opinions. Okay, it's not.
Mhm.
It insists on its own that mine is right, yours is wrong. Okay, that is militancy. That is a lack of tolerance. Okay, where religion is today, and I believe that's the religion that Jesus passed to us in the New Testament, is that we tell people about the gospel. We share the idea of our gospel with people. We don't put a
Yeah.
knife on their necks to believe. We share the
No.
gospel with them. We share the gospel with them in charity, in love. We share the gospel with them through our example, and we hope they would imbibe our religion. If they do not
Yeah.
imbibe our religion, we don't kill them for it. We don't
No.
cancel them for it. We don't say, okay,
No.
we'll not do business with you. No. How else are we going to commend our religion to these people except we live the Christian life before them? Okay, so that is what I think peaceful Muslims have come to learn, that they can actually commend their religion to Christians the same way Christians are doing it. For
Yeah.
example, I don't know whether you have noticed this thing, but many Muslims, I have, including my own father, many Muslims don't marry a second wife anymore. They don't.
That is
They
that is
are,
becoming rampant.
yes, they are imitating Christians in monogamy because they are beginning to realize that the woman is not a dog. She's not a pal. She has a feeling of, she has her own feeling. And it is civilization that makes people to understand that women are not
Yeah.
objects. Women are human beings.
At all.
Okay. So the same way a man wants to marry one wife, so the same way a woman wants to be committed to one wife, the man should also be committed. Sorry, the same way the woman wants to be committed to one husband, the man should be committed to one wife. Why should a man own 3, 4 wives? Why? You don't have 4 heads now. And for those of us who are married, we know what it takes to satisfy a woman sexually. So I do not
That's it.
know how these men do it. How they marry 3, 4 wives,
Hmm.
how they satisfy them sexually. I don't know. Because yes, the man has a greater libido. He tends to want to have sex all the time. But in the act, the woman it takes a while for a woman to be satisfied sexually. So now, how do you satisfy one wife and then satisfy the second, satisfy the third, and then satisfy the fourth? That don't say donkey. Eh? So those are the things Muslims are learning. They are beginning to learn that, look, there are certain Christian cultures that is sensible, that is right, and they are imitating these things.
You're right.
So those are some of the things I'm saying. And I think ultimately one of the things that's going to help Islam eventually is that Islam is going to realize that militant Islam does not work. Okay,
At all.
militant Islam. In fact, ultimately, I believe that many Muslims are going to even jettison their religion and come over to Christianity. I believe that's going to happen someday. Okay, let me hear your thoughts as we bring this discussion to a close.
Yeah, truly, a lot of things is going on. Uh, Muslims indeed are learning certain practices from Christians. If you look at even the way they preach these days, if you look at the way they preach these days, they've started having a congregation like that of the Christians,
Yeah, praise
preach
and
and
worship,
even do praise and worship and do deliverance all
deliverance.
along. Okay, this is a practice in Christianity, and I'm sure those people who are trying to imitate Christianity will be having to face opposition from their own brethren because they will say it is a strange practice in their religion. But that is happening today. That's happening today. So what does that tell us? That is a pointer that they see where the right path is. They know they are getting to know the right path. They are getting to know that Jesus is the way, is the truth and life, and that
Yes,
nobody
Christian culture is rubbing up on them.
exactly so that nobody can come to the Father except by Him. And regarding the militant Christianity you spoke about, of course, we cannot categorically call those people of that era, those Protestants at that time, who decided to go physical. Where did they go? Where are they going to learn it from? Even though Catholicism was violent, okay, for me, I see Catholicism as a cult up to today. My mom was born Catholic. I still have people in Catholic Church, but they are more or less a cult, okay? And they were a violent sect at the onset. And unfortunately, those who called themselves Protestants at that time also had to fight against them physically. That was not what we saw from the early church, from the believers of the early church. Those who followed Jesus Christ himself was crucified. His other disciples were all crucified. We read the story. We read the story. They never fought back. Never fought back. So those Protestants that fought back, they can't really be called Christian in the real sense or in the real true meaning of
The
it.
word.
As for us today, if we were in danger, what we can do is to try to escape. Try to escape. Outside the veil of Christianity, okay, unless we want to use other injunctions like other legal means, talking about self-defense and the rest of them, okay, because our country is in a serious insecurity situation, and we just have to find a way of of escaping and stay safe. So, um, like I've said, Islam, I mean, Muslim are learning a lot from Christian today. And even the North now, women are becoming jealous. When it comes to polygamy, it's becoming a serious trouble for them. Many of them, they are big men. Most of them have one wife. Some of them are former governors. They have just one wife. They know the trouble involved in having many of
With
them.
second, yes.
They have the trouble.
I keep saying it that the one that I have inside my house, so I've not finished understanding this. How many years now? 15 years of marriage. I'm still understanding. Sometimes she will come like, to be share deal, and then I'll add another one on top of that. Now, let's finish the way we started. Did you see what Israel did to Hezbollah? Did you see what they have been doing to Hamas? Do you know that before these B2 bombers came from America, Israel
Yeah,
actually cleared the way. They,
you're right.
they, they, own the skies of Iran right now. They own it.
You're
They,
right.
they, they, what the Doba, they are the prince of the air of Iran right now. Israel.
You're right.
No plane can fly out of Iran without Israel's permission. They
It's
own
not,
the airspace.
it's not possible.
Okay. So now I said something about education in my last broadcast. I want to push that question back to you now. Do you see the place of education in national defense?
Absolutely, absolutely. education is very, very key in national defense. All right. Look at the advanced way, the advanced formula the Israeli are using to defend themselves. They are using technology. They are using drones. All those drones were made, were fabricated in Israel, and they do even use intelligence to smuggle some of them into Iran. Okay, all Israelis are potential soldiers. All these things were achieved through education. So
Yeah.
education is incontestably so important to national development, and that's why our country Nigeria is languishing in ignorance, in the backwardness, because people call themselves the majority in the country. They are largely mediocres. They are ignoramus. Okay, they rejected education. Millions of their children are roaming the streets. They do not go to school, and in the next 5 years, if they are 15 now, they become 20. They begin to operate AK-47 and shooting
Oh,
against the
definitely,
people. They begin to shoot
definitely.
against the people because they were denied the basic values of life, such as education. So, education is something that we must take seriously, and that is being proven by what Israel is doing right now.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Samuel. I want to pose the last question to myself, and that question may be coming from some of our viewers who may be asking, "What is the GSFO doing with Israel or America or Iran? Or why are you not preaching the gospel?" Well, the reality is this: that right from the time of even the days of Jesus, but it was accentuated by the coming of Islam, there has been a clash of civilization in
Yeah.
among the nations. There have been a clash
Yes.
of civilization. There is the Western civilization coming from Europe and America, and there's the Eastern civilization coming from the Middle East. Okay, the one coming from the
Yeah.
Middle East is Islamic in nature, the other one is Christian. Okay, and they have been clashing. So
Yeah.
usually what happens is that many times cultures weigh people weigh the two culture and they go for one as against the other. What has
Yeah.
happened is that in many countries where the gospel, where Western civilization has entered, the gospel has been permitted to flourish. I will give an example. Sometimes in 1865, I'm not sure whether I got it, but I think it's 1865, there was a problem in concerning missions work in Nigeria. The Anglicans that was led by Bishop Ajayi Crowther in that time got to
Yeah.
understand that while Ogun State, that's Ijebu, the Ijebus, the Egbas, the Badagry people were open to the gospel. Lagos, Eko town was closed to the gospel. And it was because a certain king, I can't remember his name now, a certain king was still dealing with enslaved. Okay. And he
Mm.
knew that if he allows the missionaries to come in, they are going to end his business. So he didn't
Yeah.
allow the missionaries to go. Okay. So what the Anglicans did was they sent Bishop Ajayi Crowther to London to go and speak to the British Prime Minister about a possible invasion of Lagos. Okay,
Mm.
and they listened to him and they sent a detachment of soldiers with ships. Okay, I read this from Ayodeji Abodunde's book. Okay, they sent a
Mm.
soldier of detachment. This thing, the crowd that was back then, and one morning, Lagos residents just started to hear "Gbagbo, Gbagbo, Gbagbo." Before you know it, soldiers were everywhere. They took over the government of that king. I can't remember his name now. The name keeps coming and going. They took over his government and he was deposed. And then they put another
Mm.
king there. But the new king allowed, abolished slave trade. Okay.
Yeah.
But in the
Yeah.
process of abolishing slave trade, he also allowed the missionaries to come in and share the gospel. What am I talking about? If Ayatollah Khomeini or whatever his name is removed
Yeah.
from Iran there, it wouldn't just be Western civilization that will enter Iran. The gospel will enter Iran. Today,
Sure.
Israel is not a Christian nation. But there are many Christian groups that operate freely in
That's true.
Israel. And
That's
what
true.
Jesus is calling the nations to do is that there should be liberty for people to at least hear. They may not believe, but at least hear the gospel. So
That's
this warfare, which may seem as if you are killing this and killing that, is opportunity for the gospel to be preached. It's not just that we want to take over one. What America and the West have learned from Western civilization is that modernity, modern men, you don't clamp people and say, don't listen to this one, listen to that. If I tell my children, don't listen to this, listen to that, it is the one I tell them not to listen. That's the one they will listen to. Okay. The world that we're in now, you don't tell people you don't read that book. You read that book. In fact, I have something here that I call Reformed Ayatollah. And for some of people here who are reformed, who are listening to me, I want to talk about there are many pastors in the reformed world who are Ayatollah themselves. And I'm not going to mention names at this time, but they know themselves. Many of them, the moment they pronounce a fatwa on somebody, no, they won't listen to that person again because their Ayatollah has said it. And that is not Christianity. Christianity is liberty. Jesus says, or Galatians 5:1 says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is liberty. This liberty is simply liberty to weigh options, liberty to listen to different opinions, okay, and choose whichever one you think is the best. Also, liberty of worship, okay. Nobody can come today and say that everything he does in his church is what the New Testament Christians did. None of us knows how Peter, Paul, James, or the rest worship. None of us. All we have is scripture, and we try to deduce from scripture what their worship life should be. Okay, so please, I want to warn against reform ayatollahs who are running around condemning other people and saying this one is not right. So if you are practicing that kind of, you are binding up your people, and you are not producing, you are not permitting for the liberty of the Spirit. And where there's no liberty of the Spirit, there can't be sanctification. There can be growth in grace. Okay? The liberty America has learned over the years is the liberty that the Holy Spirit backs. And that is to say that if it is the Spirit that brings an idea, the Spirit will give wisdom to people. If it is an idea from the Lord, it will change lives. It will change society. Okay?
Sure.
Some of the things that I am learning as a person is that I've come to realize that God created every single person. God created Samuel. He created myself. You know, I look at my son. My son looks exactly like me, but he is his own person. He has his own innate gifts. You know, my daughter is writing GSS3 and she has a lot of time in her hand. I've been begging her, come and learn typing. Do you know what my daughter started learning? She went to learn how to knit. She went to learn knitting. I had to leave her alone because she's not me. I learned typing at her age, but she may not be interested. She wants to learn knitting. We must give people liberty. There are parents who insist that their children must read medicine. And the children go and read the medicine. Then they take the certificate and go back and give it to daddy and mommy and say, Daddy, this is your medicine. I've read it for you. I'm now going to do what I want to do. Okay? We're in the period of liberty. People must have ability to listen to ideas and choose for. I know the way it is. Many good ideas, they are not from man. They are from God. You know, and if we put all of these ideas together, we may be able to find you know, ways to do things. All right. But the ayatollahs will not allow it. The ayatollahs will insist you must preach what we preach, you must worship what we worship, you must use the hymn book we use, you must use King James Version, you must do this. It is wrong. It's not Christianity. Okay, so those are my closing thoughts. Samuel, let's have your closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to delve into various matters regarding development, regarding faith, regarding international issues. I must also say that we cannot close today without mentioning the fact that on the breaking news, Iran has actually tried to retaliate against the US by attacking their
Really?
base, one of their bases in Qatar. Qatar. So I just want to let Iran realize that
Iran, yeah, it want to finish.
they should be careful
They are
that
going to kill the Ayatollah. It's just sad. They should
uh,
not have done that.
this is
They should
Israel
not have
to
done that.
actually go. Is this is going to be the beginning of the end? So, but they need to learn from other countries like Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, who have become friends of the United States and Israel. And they should also learn from Israel neighbors. There are countries between Israel and Iran. There are a number of countries between. They do not fight with Israel. So how come is Iran that's far over there, far away there, that's always in contention with Israel? All right. So they should learn to accept peace and accept their
They can't learn
limitations.
anything.
Their limitations. So
They can't
I
learn.
hope peace will
Uh,
prevail. I hope peace will prevail. I hope that
no,
there will peace.
they did what? Oh no, I feel so sorry for these people. I feel very, very sorry. Please, if you have anybody in Iran, please tell them to find somewhere. They shouldn't stay anywhere close to Ayatollah. The guy is going to be killed. And incidentally, the crown prince, the son of the former leader, he has arrived in Iran. Abi, you know the person I'm talking about. Samuel, are you there? Samuel, and his network was so fantastic now. Or is it my own? I think it's Samuel's son. So, I mean, Samuel will be joining us. I feel sorry for them. Let's have a follow for Iran, their own T20 power. All right, this is Reform Naija Television. My name is Deji Yesufu. We have been discussing the Israeli-Iran war, okay, especially with regards to the recent attack of America on Iran. If you were not with us from the beginning, please, when we end the broadcast, please try to listen from the beginning. Try to excuse also the bad audio at the beginning. I believe it got better. I want to thank our brother Samuel Ojedi for joining us. I hope when next we would invite him to be around. We'll try to bring something again. I think this week we're going to have Dr. Adetola come to talk to us about the development of music, Christian music, and all of that later. Please be part of it. We want to thank every single person who have been with us. Thank you very much. And bye-bye.